Hi there and welcome back to Japan, where we're going to be doing a reaction review to BiSH's new video for the song Tomorrow, which I'm also hearing for the first time. Now, this is premiering just now, and as you probably know if you've been on this channel at all recently since we restarted everything, we have to do things slightly differently now, in that if you want to see the reaction, I've actually just done it. It just premiered. You have to open a separate player to do that. Sorry, it's a bit complicated, but it's just one click of the link in the description below. Pause this video. That'll open a separate player. You can watch me doing a reaction to the actual live premiere of the video as it came out a few minutes ago. And then once you've watched that, you can come back over to here. So if you want to see the reaction, pause this now. Click the link in the description below. Have you seen the reaction? You ready? Is the reaction done? Are you ready for the review? Have you just unpaused me? Well, either way, it's review time now. Okay. So this song, like I said at the beginning, there's a lot of things that I have to say about when, there's a BiSH song. It's the group who I think most consistently, there's some really fantastic groups we've checked out on this channel, both before and after we had to restart everything. And, it's one of those groups where I say probably foremost, probably more than any other group, I kind of look forward to BiSH because I mean, I really like them, but whether they're my favourite band or group that we ever checked out, it's a lot of competition for that. However, I really enjoy checking out their stuff because it's always, as a reviewer and a listener, it always makes for an interesting surprise. You never know what you're going to get, and it's always something which is well made. So whether you like the song or not, you're usually going to get a nice surprise just as a music lover. So when this came in, I didn't know what to expect. Like I said, now, BiSH do have, for all of their variation, for all of their extremely hard songs and for all of their really relaxed songs and for the way they've perfected those two extremes, they do also have something of a safe zone, which it seems to be the songs that they most commonly do with the most effect tend to be, I would say, in the area of the sort of arrangement that songs like Non-Tie-Up have. Now, that's obviously quite an extreme example of that. But those sort of big, loud earphones full of sound with orchestra playing, or, well, not an orchestra, but usually some sort of strings playing in the background, those kind of things, that tends to be their, if you like, their particular safe zone. The thing that they can do probably the most reliably is those big, sort of blasting songs. And that's definitely where this comes in. Now, I was interested that this actually approaches that in a slightly different way, because usually when they do those songs, they do have a mixture of, it'll tend to be the sound of like a rock band sound, but with the orchestration and the strings really bringing most of the power. And then, production elements thrown in. This went in a slightly different direction in that it sounded big, but most of it was just coming from that rock band sound. I mean, there were strings in there that added a lot, but essentially speaking, this could just be a rock song. You could just play this with a rock band and it would still sound great. So I think that they really took advantage of that. They were sort of somewhere going between doing something very rocky and also somewhere between their comfortable sound, which sounds to me like a good way of maybe producing something new for maybe a new album. I'm expecting. Like I said, I don't pre-research these things too much because I don't want to, spoil any of the genuine reactions. But I'm assuming that this is paving the way for a new album. It's good. It sounds like BiSH, and yet it also sounds a little bit new in some other ways. Now, the elements go together brilliantly here. The rock band sound, like I say, is really energetic, and he really feels like it's got a lot of, a rock bite to it. And yet the strings are still there to thicken everything up and give it more orchestration. Now, this is the interesting thing. With a lot of rock bands, they would maybe, if they wanted to sound it big, make it sound bigger, they'd maybe layer up the guitars, so you'd start getting a lot of twiddling and extreme guitar solos and things like that. What I like, though, is, like I say, again, to sort of clarify that point in a different angle, maybe, is what you're getting here is the rock band song itself is quite simple. I mean, it's got all that sort of heavy ass-kicking sort of energy of like a band-made song, and yet without the sort of twiddly complexities that maybe make their songs more intricate and, give them a replay value. What this instead does is, where you could tell that they weren't aiming towards that so much, they instead replaced that by building up the energy with orchestration, which, like I say, is one of the techniques that they do use most regularly, and it works really well here. Now, I don't know if the girls themselves were actually playing all the instruments they were showed to play. I do believe that they have musical talent. And for example, we have seen in side projects, like if you've seen Pedro, then obviously, there is musical talent from members of this group who they maybe, use their talent outside of being in a girl band, which is usually a choreographed affair where you can't really play an instrument so much. But I don't know, for example, there was that big cello there. I don't know if that was actually being played. She probably can, but it didn't look a huge amount like she was. But that might just be me taking a layman's guesses. To be perfectly honest, I'm not 100% sure what proper cello technique looks like. And then, the other instruments, the drumming looked great, but I think it was Chi-Chi behind the drums, wasn't it? And the drumming looked perfectly real. It looked like that was being done really well. Guitar was being held really well. I do genuinely believe that Momoko can probably handle tambourine. And the piano stuff looked good. So I'm assuming these guys have the ability to actually play this song properly, strings part aside. Sort of the violin parts of, like I said, the cello might work, but I wasn't really hearing much cello in this song, if I'm honest with you. So anyway, so listening to this, I don't know how much of this is designed to be a song that maybe on a live show they can actually be their own band, turn up and play it like a rock band. I really hope that's true. I would love to see this song just played as a rock song, just to sort of break up their shows. The choreographed stuff's great, and I always say that although I'm not an expert in choreography, I love how all the stuff they do choreographed always seems to be very expressive and always seems to be more interesting than what you see from your normal sort of girl bands. I hate to say this, but often K-pop bands, obviously we had the nice exception with groups like Dreamcatcher who are much more interesting in what they do with choreography, but a lot of K-pop bands, it's just, there's a butt shaking at you. Okay. So, seeing what BiSH do a lot of the time is really interesting. But I think this would be really nice if they can break it up and actually turn up on stage and just suddenly blast out a rock song at some point in their set, maybe at the beginning, maybe at the end. So if that's what this song's being written to give them the opportunity to do, then that's really cool. I really like the fact that they can do that. Even if not, though, I still think it works as a nice combination, like I say, and I keep on flogging this horse a bit too much, of the orchestration, which is such a staple technique of a lot of their songs, and the rock sound, which is such a current thing right now and they've approached so well in this example, because this sounds like a genuine rock song, like I say. Now, a lot of things to maybe talk about would be in the writing. The writing was in some ways rather by the numbers. It does your typical rock song thing of going, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, thinking it was just bridge, chorus at the end. And the chorus was your very J-pop thing of being a few keys higher than the rest of the song. It's a technique that, for people who are not used to Japanese music, often sounds a bit weird, suddenly having the chorus separate into a different key from the rest of the song. However, if you're used to Japanese music, then you have heard this technique so many times, it's just kind of a fun way of upping the scale of things. Usually in Western music, they just do it right in the last chorus. And even then, key changes are becoming less and less popular these days. So, I like the fact that they use that technique, but it was all pretty much by the numbers. However, it was really well written. The chorus is still in my head right now, which is always a good sign. It means it's probably quite catchy. I'm looking forward to seeing after more listens how catchy that remains. The flow of the song was really good. It sort of moved through all of its various sections beautifully. I did think the pre-chorus was really interesting as well. I wanted to have a chance to go back and have a little listen to exactly how that was written, but it did. I like the sort of chord pattern that was used there. None of this is particularly revolutionary stuff, but it's very competent as a rock song. So, yeah, I can't help but sort of leave this feeling like, okay, I can understand how maybe if you're a long-time BiSH fan, you might think, oh, this is fairly by the numbers. Or if you're a long-time rock fan, you might think, oh, this is fairly by the numbers rock song. However, I think in also both those positions, you could also see how this is a bit different from, if you're comparing this to a lot of the BiSH songs that it maybe sounds similar to, how the harder edge of this and the slightly more rocky nature does give it a little bit of a unique tone. It does bridge a gap between things we know they've done before, heavy rock and their normal orchestrated sound with a more common orchestrated sound. It bridges the gap nicely between those two. So rather than doing something completely new, it finds a nice little space between things we've maybe heard from them before. And if you're a rock fan, primarily who usually more listens to just normal bands or hard rock bands, I think you can at least hear how this has that freedom that pop groups have. Same thing that baby metal can pull off, which is that you can have a band or you can have a band arrangement, but when you are effectively a pop group, you have the right to throw in things that a rock group otherwise couldn't. I mean, if a rock group turns up and they do a song where there's suddenly an orchestra on it, you kind of have to justify the orchestra being there, because it's like, well, the band's not playing the whole song. And I know it might be cheating, but with a pop group, you can kind of put in anything you want because you're not expected to be the musicians. So if you're a rock fan listening to this, then I think I think it's nice to hear the fact that this has, like I say, that really cool orchestration. It helps build things up towards the end, and really does build up towards a crescendo with this song. So, because it comes in so hard that it maybe limits itself on how many places it's got to go, and yet it does feel like it builds up to a good ending. The video was cool as well. The video looked a lot like a sort of like a Japanese rock band video. It looks like they're really playing to that market. I mean, I would say the video looks a lot like it could be a Band-Maid video, to be honest. And I keep on drawing that comparison because I do tend to think of Band-Maid, in my opinion, and I think an increasing number of people's opinions, as really the front runner in the hard rock side of the all-female bands that are out there at the moment. They are certainly in my opinion, the most impressive of those hard rock groups. And so I wouldn't be surprised if there is a degree of benchmarking going on. I don't think intentionally any copying, because it wasn't that similar, but there was that sort of same thing that we've seen so many times from Band-Maid. Let's just all do the entire video in one location, a bit of cool lighting, make it look a little bit moody and dilapidated. And then some sort of solo shots of each member every now and then. It's very much in line with what you'd expect from both Band-Maid and a lot of the hard rock sort of Japanese videos. So the video was cool. It kept the energy. They used a bit of their budget to do some of the cool things. Like, I don't know exactly what was going on, but the CGI bit where things were spinning around them. Random, but it was kind of fun. I can't help but feel that this was one of those videos where you watch it and it's very easy to enjoy. I'd be really surprised if either a BiSH fan or a hard rock fan could genuinely say they didn't enjoy this. And yet I think it is going to separate people, and that some people are going to find this rather by the numbers, which again, I do understand. I know how it plays on a lot of tropes of both BiSH's previous work and on hard rock tropes. But also I think it's something where for a lot of people it's going to be an interesting combination. Either way, I think it's definitely a worthwhile song that I would definitely enjoy listening to again. I know I've rambled a lot about this one, but I do think that was a good listen. And so, like I say, I'm looking forward to coming back and hearing more, hopefully more of their new stuff. And obviously we'll be checking out a lot of other bands, as we always do on this channel. But anyway, for now, thank you so much for tuning in. The most important thing is music is it's a mixture of the objective and the subjective opinion. So please get in there, tell me your opinions. As you guys probably know, I've worked with music my entire life, but that does not mean that my opinion should affect what you think. So tell me what you think, and most importantly, justify why. Let's have a good conversation between all of us on here. If you want to get further into the conversation, there's also links in the description below for our Reddit and our Discord, as I'm sure you know, as well as the Facebook and Twitter for me. And a big thank you to anyone who's clicked the link onto our Patreon and is supporting us on there. Gracias, amigos. My Spanish is not very good, so apologies if I just butchered those words. I don't know why I even said it that way. Anyway, thank you for making it to the end of the video, and for now, from Japan, until I see you hopefully soon on the next one, ciao ciao.